Valentine's Day to those who celebrate. Hopefully, you're having a great one. Lining up a quick little show here today. Nothing too major. Um, just want to talk a little bit of boxing. Talk about the rumors that's been going on in the boxing community. See what's good with that. So basically, if you read the headline, um, we're going to talk about some fights that should be taking place and what's being said about those fights instead. For example, um, Errol Spence Jr. has a fight coming up, we believe. Terrence Crawford should potentially have a fight. Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, Teofimo Lopez, and Josh Taylor, amongst others. So we're going to discuss that today. We'll probably do like a 30-minute show, almost all boxing, and then we're gonna get up out of here. We do have some great videos coming up, some fighter profiles. I'm gonna expand that to college football as well, some prospect profiles, because I think knowing what's coming down the pipe keeps the sport interesting, right? You know who the pros are, you know who the stars are, so there's no need to kind of dwell on that. You feel me? It's gonna that beat myself, but, trying to. Let's see, feel like it's best today. So y'all let me know how it sounds like y'all doing. All right, so first things first, let's talk about Deontay Wilder and his potential fight with Andy Ruiz, which, from what I understand, should be happening in June. This is directly from Lefty at Chicken Talk. So the rumor that's out is that there's been some conversations outside of PBC about Deontay Wilder potentially trying to fight somebody else. So the biggest thing with that is up to date, up to now, Deontay Wilder has seen one of the most loyal PBC fighters on the roster, right? So it doesn't make sense to me that he would pursue other endeavors, especially where he's consistently said his money's good. Just even in the recent clip where people have tried to twist his words, where they said Deontay Wilder's talking about fighters getting paid late and him being unhappy and stuff like that. But then they're going to turn around and try to make it seem like PBC doesn't have enough money to pay him in order to fight again. Now, obviously, if PBC is not working with Fox anymore, there is one issue there because that's usually where Deontay Wilder's fights have been as of late, especially the Tyson Fury trilogy has been PBC on Fox pay-per-view. Maybe Showtime isn't investing as much as Fox had been in him, but I don't think that would stop him from getting in the ring with a guy like Andy Ruiz, especially where it aligns him for another shot at the WBC title, which it seems like he cares about. He wants to get that belt back, or at least an opportunity to fight Tyson Fury for the belt. So I don't know. To me, it's just it sounds like BS. I'm not a fan of people putting out rumors without any justification behind them. At least if you're going to say something like that, you should make it to where you say, hey, um, it looks like this could potentially be happening with Deontay Wilder. You get what I'm saying? Like, you kind of sit down and you evaluate it from a business perspective and say, based on the changes that are going on with PBC, as far as not having two networks to work with, him mostly being at home on Fox, maybe there might be an opportunity for him to look elsewhere to get some promotion. But it just doesn't make sense to just assume that he's unhappy. That just doesn't add up to me. So I would say if he's going to not fight Andy Ruiz, which, like I said, it sounds like they have a date, no venue, but they have a date. And I know that they're supposed to be announcing their 2023 calendar sometime this week. Steven Espinosa on a recent interview or time on the Spaces chat did say that they were looking at letting the Super Bowl pass. They didn't want to go head to head with the Super Bowl for announcing anything, and then they were going to go ahead and put it out. So, in my opinion, that sounded like this week. Today's Tuesday. Maybe Wednesday would be a good day to release it midweek. They don't have a card this week that I can recall, so it would be the perfect time to go ahead and put that info out and get people buzzing, things like that. But yeah, it's I guess it's just a good opportunity for them to let the world know how awesome they're trying to set this up for 2023. And then that leads me to my next point, just while we're still on PBC, because we're gonna leave and talk about a top ranked fighter and things like that. Um, you have you have PBC seems to be setting up local based cards and trying to get like a main event fighter and maybe even a feature fighter from nearby the venue, within a couple hours. So you're going to get people to come and pack the stadium. So you're kind of like fluffing up the numbers at the gate, which makes sense. But then you also bring in fighters from them to fight that are either lower tier that aren't going to garner a lot of pay, and you start to put these events together at like minimal cost, and that makes sense. If they're if they're on, not really pins and needles, but let's say they're trying to figure out what Showtime is going to do, what Paramount is going to do, like will they keep boxing? I typically think that they're going to keep boxing, but if they're kind of just playing it by ear to figure out, hey, are we gonna be able to use this network still? Let's just put on shows at an inexpensive price. We're able to stretch our budget as much as possible. So when we do our big box fights, we're able to have plenty of budget to pay marquee fighters. To me, that makes sense. So it looks like we lost Facebook. I'm not sure why. Um, let's see if we could go ahead and get Facebook back. Facebook do what it do. All right, so we just reset that. Let's see if that fixed it. And if it don't reconnect, we're just gonna be without Facebook today. I don't really have boxing people over there anyway. But let's take a look at where these cards are going to be. Specifically Benavidez plant. I just don't remember the location off the top of my head, but I know it is official because it's on the Boxing Showtime's calendar. Yeah, so there's a Showbox card this weekend. More on that later. But let's see. Yeah, there's like about 3 Showtime events this month, counting the one that just went down last weekend. So that's pretty good. And I don't think there's any pay per views this month. So they had one in January, none in February. So that's good for us as the viewers, right? All right, so we're getting into March. March, we have a regular Showtime card on March 4th. Um, Tim Zoo and Tony Harrison should be Showtime. PBC was PBC. That's going to be March 11th. That's not pay per view. It's definitely PBC, but I don't see Showtime on there. That's in Australia. All right, Showtime pay per view, March 25th. All right, so this is in Vegas. So you got Plant, who's local to Vegas. Even though this is a more of a marquee fight, so the location thing isn't necessarily applicable. But yeah, let's look at the fighters that are on this card. Uh, okay, so undercard isn't announced yet, but you can bet that you're going to see a lot of fighters from Vegas, like from somewhere, or nearby Vegas or somewhere in California. you're going to see that. That's my opinion on how this fight card is going to play out. So, and I'm starting to see that that's what they're doing for their events. That's how they're going to carry things. So far, there's no pay-per-view events announced for Showtime in April, but the word is it's going to be Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia. And I'm looking, there's only one card going on April 15th, and that's Joe Joyce and Zilay Zhang. So they'll have that date to themselves. There's a handful of pay-per-views that's that month, but none of them are big enough to stop people from buying Ryan and Tank. So that card also is going to be, I guarantee you that undercard is going to be a lot of people from wherever that venue's at. Like if it's on the East Coast, it's going to be a lot of people, a lot of boxers from the Eastern Seaboard that are going to be on that card. If it's on the West Coast, it's going to be a lot of West Coast fighters on that card that are associated with PBC or their primary affiliates. Like whatever Pro Bellum is about to become, you'll probably see some of them guys litter it, because while that company is trying to go in transition, I'm sure they still want to put on fights to keep money coming in. So let's see. Yeah, so that's what I think you're going to see from PBC when they announce their slate, because they've got some stuff put out there, but not everything. So when them and Showtime get together and make this announcement, I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised about the type of fights that they're going to be putting on. And they've put on 2 really good cards already this year, just in 2 months. In fact, 3 good cards, because they had another one on Showtime a few weeks ago, sometime in January, besides the Tank card. So let's not sleep on them. Let's not bury them. Even though we don't know what's going to happen to Showtime by the end of the year, we do know that their fights throughout this year are going to be good. So let's get into some of the other topics. All right. So rumor has it that Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford are in discussions to book a fight, right? But I just don't believe it. Number one, Keith Thurman has been really quiet. I think a fight's coming, and something's cooking, because Ness from the Boxing Voice was supposed to go down there and talk to Keith like a couple weeks ago. It's been at least 3 weeks since he said he was going to go see Keith in a couple weeks. He hasn't been on their show. He hasn't brought up Keith's name. He basically hasn't said anything about that. And he talked like he was on first name basis, good friends with Keith. So if there's any information, he's got it. And whatever he has, he either has been instructed to sit on it until further notice, or basically it debunks any rumors that are out there. And the good and bad thing about the boxing community online is that as long as people are having conversations, whether they're talking about rumors or hearsay or whatever, it's keeping boxing in the mainstream. Because if you watch ESPN, Fox, and all these other networks that don't have routine fight programming, well, hell, even ESPN, you don't hear about boxing. So these conversations actually keep it going, and it keeps people interested enough to tune into the streams and pay for the pay-per-views, right? And that's what you need to keep the sport going. So back to Ness and back to this setup here. He was supposed to go and talk to Keith and get whatever the inside scoop was, because the question mark was, why would Keith agree? Why would Keith agree to like a catch weight? Why would he agree to a fight where he had no guarantees in terms of who's going to if can he win the belt? Is he going to lose his ranking if he loses? You know, there's a lot of question marks about that. So he had questions for Keith about that, like, why would you agree to this, and is it true? And there hasn't been any confirmation about it being at a particular weight. Like, we don't know for sure if it's going to be a catch weight or actually at 154. But with that information still in the air, why would anybody even really entertain the idea that Bud Crawford will be re-entering negotiations with Errol Spence right now? I mean, if it were my situation to manage as a promoter or manager somewhere mixed in there, I would probably, if I was working with Errol Spence, I will probably be encouraging him to, let's get the Keith deal done. If you're healthy, I need to get you in the ring with Keith as soon as the schedule permits from our network, and as soon as you're fully healthy to do so. And we're going to put you in as minimal risk of a situation as possible. But in the meantime, we need you to go ahead and get this fight settled and signed with Terrence Crawford. So no matter what happens when you go to the ring with Keith, you're going to fight that man next. Now, the biggest thing would be if you go in there and let's say for some reason you were to lose to Keith, our guarantee that we still get an undisputed fight is that we promise Keith that he'll be the number one contender in the WBC, win, lose, or draw. So he has nothing to lose, but he gets a payday. And on the flip side, Errol gets to protect the belt and still set up a big fight with Bud Crawford. Now, some fans are going to say, well, if he lost to Keith before Bud, then he's not really undisputed, blah, 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 whatever. And there's some reasoning for that. But I think that we still want to see those two gentlemen fight no matter what. And the good thing for Spence in that scenario is his legacy is secured because he'll have fought all of his contemporaries in his career, win, lose, or draw. Because a lot of people give Sean Porter credit because he fought everybody. You can't say he didn't. Danny Garcia fought everybody. You can't say he didn't. Only one Danny didn't fight is Bud. And you know, there's obvious reasons why that didn't happen. So to me, Errol needs that notch, and that'll kind of secure him as at least a Hall of Famer somehow. And then if you go to 154 and beat some guys, there's not a lot of people in his age group that will probably really check off the classic fight box. But he lost to Brian Castano in the amateurs. It'd be good for him to go fight him. It'd be good for him to go fight Fundora because he's an up and comer. It'd be good for him to fight Tony Harrison. And hell, if you can get Mel on there. So I just gave you about 6 fights that Errol Spence can close his career with that will probably put him in the Hall of Fame. You're looking at Keith Thurman, Bud Crawford, Brian Castano, Sebastian Fundora, Tony Harrison, and Jermell Charlo. Those will be the fights I would want him to have on his resume when his career is over. And hell, he can go 3-3 in them fights for all I care. I just want to see him get in there. I'm lying. I would like to see him win all 6 if he could get them all. But even if he went 3-3, 2-4, whatever, hell, Sean Porter pretty much lost to everybody elite except Ugas. So to me, I think this looks great on his resume. He'll have been a unified champion, potentially undisputed champion at 147. So I think he really needs to fight Keith while he has an opportunity to do so. I know what he said. He didn't want to fight him, but I feel like he needs that fight. So that's how I would probably want things to be lined up. Next up, I would say I want to talk about Tyson Fury. And they're saying that he and Deontay Wilder have been negotiating in the backdrop, right? I don't believe that. Tyson Fury is somebody who strikes me as a guy who wants to achieve it all. He's been a unified and lineal champion, and he has an opportunity to become undisputed at heavyweight in the 4-belt era. Why wouldn't he fight Usyk? I think it's a good fight. I don't give Usyk as much of a chance to win as many others do, but any given night it could work. I know there'll be a rematch clause, so it's at least 2 fights. If there's an opportunity to fight Deontay Wilder again, I would say this buys him more time to get more prepared because that gives him a chance to fight 2 more times before he tangles with Tyson Fury again. And then he also has the opportunity to tangle with AJ. Those are a couple of fights I would definitely be interested in seeing Deontay Wilder in. Hell, I want to see Deontay Wilder fight. I want to see him against Jermaine Franklin. I want to see him against Andy Ruiz. I want to see him against AJ. I want to see him against Usyk. And then maybe Tyson Fury at the end of all that. So 5 fights from now, go for it against Tyson. And I don't care if there's anything on the line. If you guys just want to do a 4th match, because people will probably buy it at that point because Tyson Fury will be a little older. Maybe he's showing some signs of slowing down. Maybe Deontay Wilder's still showing the power and a little bit better boxing ability and a little bit better gas tank. And there may be some interest in that, you know, the brawl for it all, to settle it. And they both ride off into the sunset with a pocket full of money. So that would be something I would definitely have some interest in. But again, it's just a matter of I don't want to see them fight a fourth time within the next year or so. Now, obviously, Father Time is working against Deontay, and he's not very active in terms of fighting a lot of times in the year. So I don't know how that plays out timeline wise if he has an opportunity to fight four times before seeing Fury again. But I could line up four people I would love to see him fight. Give me Ruiz, give me Jermaine Franklin, give me Usyk, give me AJ, and then give me Tyson Fury. Or hell, he could do Fury and AJ. You could flip flop him if that's his last two fights of his career. He'll probably go 1-1 in that. Like I don't see a path to victory against Fury for Wilder, but if the man wants to fight him again and the money's there, go for it. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, something I hadn't had a chance to weigh in on is Josh Taylor and Teofimo Lopez appear to be on a collision course trying to negotiate and put a fight together. And I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about either one of them potentially dodging a really good match against a willing opponent to fight each other. So you have Teofimo Lopez had an opportunity to fight Regis Prograis. Didn't happen, won't happen. And then you have Josh Taylor with a chance to rematch Jack Catterall to get over a fight that people think he lost. So he gets injured, and then all of a sudden he's looking at fighting T.O. So that kind of feels like a dodge to me. And I don't like when fighters do that. I want you to line up and fight who's in front of you, especially make the best fights, which is going to generally make you the most money. And I don't think these guys are looking at that. They're kind of looking at what should make them the most money, not guaranteeing the fans a good fight. Now, that said, the other end of that spectrum is Jack Catterall and Regis Prograis might tangle. Now, that's going to be a hell of a fight because you have two aggressive fighters who could do a little bit of defense but also have some pop. They're going to come forward. You know, you could put them in a 10-by-10 ring and they're going to love it. They're going to go toe-to-toe. They're not going to move away from each other too much and not run. I mean, it's a time where you're supposed to use your lateral movement and get out of the fire, but they're not going to just dodge each other and try to get an escape. So it doesn't matter what size ring you put them in. They will give you a good fight. So hopefully their teams will get together and they'll book it and they'll be able to have a fight. Shoot, by the end of the year, if you ask me, I would love to see that. All right, so got one more I want to look at here. Noya Inoue and Stephen Fulton. So it's sounding like they might end up getting a late April date. And I'm okay with that. If you put them in late April, it's going to be on regular TV, but it looks like they're trying to put it on a Saturday. And I'm cool with it. It's going to be in Japan, so that throws things off a little bit. Let me see. I'm trying to look at the schedule. Okay, so 29th is a Saturday, so the 30th is a Sunday. But if it's Sunday in Japan, it's Saturday here. So we have a 6 o'clock fight card on the Zone on April 29th, which is Stanionis and Virgil. So then if you do the 30th over there, so that's going to put it like either in the wee hours of the morning here, like maybe 2 a.m. on a Sunday. So everybody probably just stay awake to watch that card or go to sleep and wake up, set an alarm so they can watch the main event. But I will be okay with that. But that's lining up to be a really good fight. In the interview that Fulton did, he said a lot of things that encouraged me that he's taking Inoue seriously, but at the same time, he's not giving him too much respect to where it seems like he's afraid. Like you could tell when dudes go into fights and all that, and they talking like they really not there for the fight, like they there for the check. He sounds like he's there for the fight. So when you have a guy that's there for the fight, he's gonna play it smart. You gotta think he's like a chameleon fighter. He's adaptable. He can change his style up and do different things. He doesn't have to just stand there and brawl. He could let his hands go sometime. Other times he can use his footwork and pot shot and set up combinations and set traps. And I think Fulton is the man to do that. I really believe that people are going to be surprised about how tough he is. He's from Philly. So he got a little swag to him where he not just going to come in there and lay down because Inoue been knocking dudes out. I mean, Denier lasted quite a bit, and he even fractured Inoue's eye socket. And while Fulton hasn't shown that kind of power, that doesn't mean that he can't. So he might be in there training how to sit down on his shots a little better. He's been working with boots, testing that chin, getting stronger. So ultimately, he's going to show up, and he's already on the road, so he got nothing to lose. He's going for broke. And he already said, you don't go over there for this kind of fight and leave it up to the judges. So either he expects to blow Inoue out with great boxing for 12 rounds, or he's trying to set up some power shots and he'll knock his ass out. We're going to see, though. But it's going to be a good fight nonetheless. I think Noya probably is working with some people that have really good lateral movement, so he's going to be better at cutting off the ring than he's shown in the past. And I think that he's also going to have to do a little bit of moving himself, because I don't think he should stand in the fire with Fulton and allow him to tee off on him and let the judges see impressive combinations being landed, even if he's blocking them with his gloves. So we're going to see how it goes. We're going to talk more about that fight in depth at a later time. But like I mentioned, we're just doing a 30-minute show today. We're trying to get our schedule set up just right. So hopefully y'all enjoyed it. We'll probably talk about football and all the awards that were given out at the NFL honors over the weekend before the Super Bowl. We hadn't talked about that yet. There was some history made when the Super Bowl played out, and Pat Mahomes won the MVP of the Super Bowl as well as of the regular season. And I believe that that's the first time since like 1999 or something like that. So big deal right there. We'll talk more about that in depth and some of the other accolades that were issued over the weekend. So we're going to close it right there. This has been T for the Mic Check Podcast. I'm exiting the booth until the next time I'm out. Peace.